What's up, everybody? Mike Messina alongside Jack Roche here, recapping history. Amanda Serrano versus Katie Taylor Saturday night at Madison Square Garden, the first women's headliner in combat sports history, and it happened at the Mecca, Jack.
It was a great night and really a great whole week. It started off on Tuesday at the most famous building in New York, the Empire State Building. We saw them light the building with the colors of their respective flags of Ireland and Puerto Rico. From there, we traveled to the top of the building to the observatory where we saw the entire city, the first face-off between the two fighters, and a quick preview of what was to come for the rest of the week. But on Friday, we saw the weigh-in between the two that Mike was able to attend.
Yeah, Jack, the weigh-in was electric. You had on one side of the Hulu Theater, you had the Irish, and then on the other side of the Hulu Theater, you had the Puerto Rican fans for Amanda Serrano. And throughout the entire event, all you hear is ole, 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 ole. The other side as well. The crowd was electric. There was no shortage of fans, no shortage of media there. It was one of the biggest events that I was able to cover at WFUV Sports, and it didn't end there, Jack. I mean, yes, we had Amanda Serrano and Katie Taylor. We had Jesse Vargas and Liam Smith that got really, really chippy at the weigh-ins.
And from there, that energy did not dissipate at Madison Square Garden. The preliminary fights, we saw the intensity build, especially in Liam Smith's win over Jesse Vargas. But by the time the main card had rolled around, it was one of the loudest environments I'd personally heard at the Mecca of basketball, this time the Mecca of fighting for Katie Taylor versus Amanda Serrano. Here's a quick preview or soundbite of what we were in for on Saturday night.
Yeah, Jack, the energy carried over from the Vargas-Smith fight right into the Serrano-Taylor fight, and it was guns blazing from the start. I don't know if you remember the walkout song that Amanda Serrano had, got the entire place bumping. Everyone was on their feet cheering, and I'm kind of disappointed in the walkout song by Katie Taylor. I mean, you're expecting a drop to come in, you're expecting people playing bagpipes, but she comes out to kind of like mellow music, and it didn't really get the crowd going like we expected.
A little less energy, for sure, but certainly put Katie Taylor in the zone because she was great, especially in those later rounds.
If we're going walkout numbers, Amanda Serrano's up 1-0 in that round to Katie Taylor. But let's go to the real fight. The first 5 rounds I thought were electric. In my opinion, I have Amanda Serrano winning rounds 1 through 5. And honestly, Katie Taylor almost didn't make it out of round 5. Amanda Serrano throwing haymakers from the start of round 5 to the end of round 5. And this fight being 10 2-minute rounds, and Katie Taylor almost didn't make it out of round 5. Amanda Serrano looks like she out-punched herself, throwing way too many punches, throwing quick punches, hard punches, and she didn't really have the stamina to last the last 5 rounds, but she played her part. I think it should have been a draw or an Amanda Serrano win, but Katie Taylor comes out in the 8th, 9th, and 10th round and showed why she is the champion because she outstriked, outperformed, and just had more energy and heart than Amanda Serrano did in those last 3 rounds. And those are the championship rounds in fighting, and she was able to achieve those and win this fight through those 3 rounds.
And while Katie Taylor is the victor, the night ultimately was a W for both of them and the sport of female boxing in general. The first time this sort of event has headlined Madison Square Garden, and the two of them backed it up in the post-fight press conference, talking about how both of them are such an inspiration to little girls all across the country, all across the world. This was such an international fight, and while it was in Manhattan, in New York City, Serrano is the local fighter. They gave us a potential sneak peek on what's to come.
I mean, I think, talk about the rematch first. If it was a fight you'd be interested in, and I'll talk about Ireland.
Absolutely. We all want to see the best versus the best, and yeah, I mean, absolutely. A rematch would be absolutely phenomenal. And if it was in Dublin, we could sell out Crow Park, I'd say 90,000 people. So that would be unbelievable. That we've seen something special here tonight. Imagine flying in front of 80 or 90,000 people in Crow Park. Absolutely, that can happen.
Yeah, Jack, the sneak peek. Maybe a rematch possibly in Bray County, Ireland, where Katie Taylor is from. And we both heard the crowd there for Katie Taylor. Can you imagine that crowd not having to travel anywhere and being in Ireland in their home country?
All I know is if it's going to happen, we have to be there.
Jack, I wouldn't miss it for the world. We witnessed history Saturday night. It was a night that I'll remember for the rest of my life. But that's going to do it for our post-fight coverage. Signing off for WFUV Sports, he's Jack Roche. I'm Mike Messina saying thank you for listening, everybody.